Good evening and welcome to 365 Days of Amazing Stories of Theo Mayer. Here we are on, I believe, day 256. And I'm continuing stories from 1001 Arabian Nights, and specifically the story of Nur al-Din, Ali ibn Bakar, and the slave girl, Shms al-Nahar. Now, you might remember that Abu al-Hassan had left. He felt like he was certainly going to get himself in trouble. And his friend, the jeweler, took over as the go-between. And the jeweler actually set up a meeting for them in a house that he had, that he thought was quite safe. And so Shams al-Nahar and Nur al-Din, they meet, and it's quite a meeting. And, you know, their hearts are just filled with such joy to be with each other that all of their worries just fall away. And the jeweler feeds them and brings them wine until Shams al-Nahar is just moved to sing and play on the lute, which she does. She tuned it, and then she started playing and singing this song. And, well, it was beautiful. And they were playing, and the jeweler was listening, and just tears were running down his cheeks. It was so beautiful. He'd never heard anything like it. And suddenly one of the maids comes rushing in and tells how these robbers had broken into the house. The jeweler went and hid at a neighbor's. There was screaming, and then things became quiet. He didn't know what to do. So he's there, he's hiding in this neighbor's house. And the neighbor hears the commotion and comes down the stairs to the hallway where the jeweler is hiding. He'd gone in through the front door, and the jeweler, wasn't going to move. The neighbor came down with a sword drawn, and he sees the jeweler huddled there against the wall, and he says, "Who are you? What are you doing here?" The jeweler says, "Well, I'm your neighbor, and it seems some robbers have broken into my house." "Who are you?" he said. The neighbor said, "Well, this is my house. I'm your neighbor." So they greeted each other, and the neighbor's like, "Let's go see what's happened. Let's go check out your house." The jeweler's like, "I don't think I have a house at all." "Well, let's go see." So they go out the door, and they go into the jeweler's house. The door's broken in. The windows are all broken. Everything is disheveled and a mess inside the house, and everything of any value has been taken away. There's no sign of anybody. The jeweler was afraid that both Nur al-Din and Shams al-Nahar would have been dead, but that wasn't the case. He didn't see any of the maids either. There was no blood on the ground. "What should I do?" he said to his neighbor. His neighbor said, "You should be still and quiet and go to your home and rest and pray to God that everything will turn out okay." He said, "There have been robbers in our neighborhood these days. Another person, he got robbed in the same way. Everything good was taken, but one of his household was murdered in the process." Well, the neighbor had given him good advice, and the jeweler thought, best that I do go home. And he made his way home. In fact, the neighbor walked with him to make sure he would make it on the shaky feet, the shaky legs that he had. He wondered as he went along, what would he do? How could he return now the value of all the things that had been stolen, all the gold and silver utensils and plates that he borrowed from neighbors? What was he going to do? Well, he got back. Word of this whole thing spread very quickly through the town. And his neighbors who'd lent him things came quickly to his house, some to console him, some who were just angry and wondering what he was going to do to repay them, and others who just stood by, kind of blankly not knowing what to do. Well, the jeweler slept that entire day into the night. The next morning, no sooner had he wakened, there was a knock upon the door. One of his servants opened the door. It was a man, well dressed, who asked to see the master. The jeweler came to the door and said, "Hello." I greeted him. "How are you? How may I help you?" He asked if he was such and such a person. The jeweler said, "Yes, I am." "Follow me," the man said. So the jeweler began to follow him. The man went from one street to another in a haphazard way that the jeweler could not understand, passing down streets that he had never seen, and eventually he led him to his own home. He said, "Is this your house?" He said, "Yes, it is, but I'm afraid there's nothing much left of it." The man entered, told the jeweler to follow. He said, "Do you recognize this place?" He said, "Yes, this is my place, and last night I was here. And there was a great commotion, and robbers came in and robbed everything that was in here of any value, and my friends were here, and they are gone. I have no idea what has happened to them." The man said, "Do you recognize me?" The jeweler said, "No, I don't recognize you at all. Follow me then." So the man now begins to walk again. And he walks through town, again on streets that the jeweler did not recognize. Then he gets to a hill and goes over the hill and on down the hill to another little town, and they go through that town. And it's getting hours and hours have passed. It is past noontime. They continue walking. And then they turn back and walk another direction and through a forest and down through some woods and along a stream. And it's getting later and later. Into afternoon it becomes. Eventually they end up at a river. And the man, he has this unusual call that he makes with his mouth. And it's some kind of a clicking noise. And in a little bit of time, a boat appears from the other side, and it rows to where he is. And he gets into the boat, and he tells the jeweler to get in with him. And the boat now rows across to the other side. They get out, and the man says, "Follow me." And they began running through the streets of the town that is on the other side, and it's all the jeweler can do to keep up. He's not paying attention at all to where they are. Eventually they get to the house. The man knocks upon the door is opened, and they enter. There's 10 or 12 men in there. And the man asks the jeweler, "Do you recognize any of these men?" The jeweler says, "No, I do not, but greetings to you all." They all greet him back. The man says, "We are the ones who robbed you last night. And your friends are here. They are in 2 separate rooms. They would not tell us who they were. They only said that we should call upon you. And one of our company knows you. So he knew where you lived, and that is why I came to fetch you. Now, the goods that we have stolen from you, some of them we do not have any longer. But all that we do have, we will return to you. Now tell us the whole story, and do not evade the truth. Tell us everything. Who are these people? Who is this man and this woman? Certainly they are not commoners. You can tell by their dress, the abundance of jewelry on the woman. She said she was a maidservant, which is clearly not the case. And he said he was a commoner, which by his dress is obviously not true. So tell us who they are. And don't waste a word. Well, the jeweler could see that there was no way around this. The truth was the only way out. And so he began. And we'll stop the story there. Find out what happens next. Thanks for joining. Have a good rest of your day.